Sock Passe.
Hey, what's up, world? Welcome to another episode of the Team Sock Passe podcast. My name is Glad.
And I'm your boy, Rob. We are your favorite Team Sock Passe podcast show where we interview great entrepreneurs from all sectors of industry. And remember, subscribe, share, comment below. Subscribe, share, comment below.
Now, today, guys, we've got our good friend, philanthropist, co-owner, co-founder of the Creole Food Fest, director of strategic partnerships. Our brother, Mr. Fabrice Armand.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow.
God, that's an introduction right there.
My God.
Thank you for getting me here.
Oh, bro,
He
no
was
doubt.
traveling all over the world.
Hey.
Colombia,
Hey.
we're texting this guy, DM this guy, no response.
He's like, yeah, whatever, bro.
No, that's not what it was. That's not what it was. You know, you're all on
my
WhatsApp.
God.
We had no Wi-Fi. You on WhatsApp, so
It's limited.
you got to make sure that you get on that like Wi-Fi real quick.
Yeah. When I come back to the States, I got you out. Don't worry about it.
You know, I'm still on WhatsApp. My friends are always like, yo, why are you always texting us to WhatsApp when you're in New York? It's just
Right.
like a bad habit. It's
Just
just
a
like,
habit. Okay.
yeah.
Happy birthday, bro.
Happy
Thank you,
birthday.
thank you.
How you feeling?
Good, man.
Yeah?
I finally hit that 4-0. So
Wow.
perspectives change all of a sudden with it, but it's great. It's great. I'm happy
Nice.
to be here. Thankful for life, grateful for what it brings and the opportunities to come.
That's what's up.
Nice.
How was your week? I know you were a busy dude, bro.
Ah,
Always on the
man.
phone.
Yeah, week was really busy. We actually had an artist by the name of Tyke that we bought from France, and we were doing a tour with him. So we literally were doing a tour. We did New York, we did DC, Miami, LA, and Atlanta. So it was a different experience. It was also too, we had everything packed all at once. So when you're going from one day to travel to like a flight to like logistics and all that stuff, it just wears down on you.
Right.
And artists are like babies. So you literally have to take care of them, make sure that they're all okay. So
You know, you're a jack of all trades. I mean, this guy.
Yes.
I don't even know where to begin, bro. Like
Yeah.
you do it all.
You
You
went
do
from modeling. Sorry. I wanted to throw that out.
By the way,
I checked that out. You said my back in the days Ralph Lauren looks. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nah, I'm just, you do
Yeah.
you got the philanthropy work, which we'll get into. You know, you're running around with all of these celebrities, and you're doing the Creole Food Fest. You're doing beautiful stuff for the culture. Where do you have time for yourself, man?
I think that for me, it's really kind of like when you're doing stuff that you love and like there's projects that you're excited about, it's easy for you to just like really dive in and not think about the work because it doesn't become work.
Right.
Because you're really doing what you love.
Mhm.
And I think for me, I've always tried to do projects that I'm really interested in, projects that have not been done before, projects that people might say, hey, you know what, it can't be done because I like challenges. So that's what it is for me. So like when I'm doing projects, so yeah, the tour was stressful and so forth, but the simple fact that I was working with artists that I literally had discovered 2 years ago and like the work to even get him to the United States and to actually see that come to fruition it's kind of like that process too. It's kind of like that aha moment. You're like, yeah, you know what? 2 years ago, I discovered this artist. Then I was telling people about it. Then I said to myself that I'm going to bring him here with some friends of mine. And then we made it happen. So it's kind of like actualization of things. And I think that's the thing that's important. Like a lot of the times too, a lot of people get stuck in doing things that they're not passionate about. And then they have a hard time waking up in the morning. And it makes sense.
Right.
Because if you're not passionate about something and you don't feel that you're working in your purpose or you're working towards something, then it's not going to feel authentic. It's going to feel like work.
Right.
Like work is work, but at the same time, after when it's a passion, it just becomes like, you know what, it's a great project. I'm looking forward to it.
We believe that you are a key person who helps push the culture forward. And you're always doing these innovative projects, right? And because, you said you had that vision of, seeing this artist. And we were speaking about it before, before the cameras came on. Talk to us about this artist, Tyke, man, because I'm seeing them blow like artist, Amazura. How many people fit in Amazura? 25?
Well,
3,000?
2,500, 3,000, depending on how you have this
Sold out.
set up.
Sold out, bro.
Yeah.
And then you've got all these other bands, these promoters getting all these other bands to try their best to fill up a club like Amazura, and then you've got somebody like a Tyke come in and blow it.
I think what it is too is that a lot of the things with the bands, especially the Haitian bands, that they play in the same circuit. So it's kind of like they don't have that kind of like, oh, I really want to go see this artist, because you could see him. You could see him whether it is in DC or whatever. It depends on the artist. Like right now, everybody's stuck on Impossible, and everybody wants to go see Impossible. I get it. They're a great band, and their concept is pretty dope. Midgie has always been talented since the beginning, but it's just kind of like when every single person is doing the exact same thing, it becomes kind of like bland, like, and it's not authentic. The thing about Tyke that's incredible about him is not only is he an artist, he's a performer. There are people that have a natural gift in terms of performance. He's one of those. He's literally kind of like stage presence. Yeah. But the crazy thing is, we only had him with his DJ playing. So, and he's even better live, but his band is just like an extra 5-7 people. When you think about costs and like numbers and how does that end up, it didn't make sense. But ultimately, like, even without a live band, he killed it. Every single show that he did. Like, I had like cousins, I had friends, they were just like, oh, we never heard of this kid, but he's incredible.
Wow.
So that's what it is. I think for me, pertaining to like the stuff that you're talking about in terms of the culture, I've always been proud of my culture. It's kind of like I was born and raised in Haiti. I came here. I started coming here ever since I was 7. Went back to boarding school, and every single summer I'd come see my mom. But the Haiti that I grew up with and the Haiti that I experienced was always kind of like not what the perception of Haiti was. So it's kind of like, yes, like we didn't grow up in a family that had a lot of money and a lot of wealth, but we did have like access, and my dad was involved in politics and was Magbazin's right-hand man. So I had access, and through those access, I had friendships. I went to Saint Louis, and because of that too, my way of envisioning and thinking about Haiti was different. So when I got here and people were talking about us in a way that was kind of like almost like second-class citizens, I'm just like, yo, no, I don't think you really understand the Haiti that I grew up with. So I've always wanted to showcase the elegance. I always wanted to showcase the beauty. I always wanted to showcase the aesthetics of our culture, because unless you actually go and experience it, it's a problem. And I think what happened in the past is that you had basically a generation, because of Duvalier, that really fled away from Haiti, but never allowed their kids to actually experience the culture. And because of that, you had that gap that these kids don't even know or understand the Haiti that is beautiful.
That would probably be our parents' generation.
Exactly.
Right? That just came
Yeah. So it wasn't until literally there was a push by the Minister of Tourism that they were pushing people to actually experience the culture. And Haiti has one of the best food festivals that was ever created. That's how I even got into the whole food world and realm. They have a festival called Goué Saveur Lakai, which is their Haiti Food and Spirits Festival. The reason why that festival is so great is because of Haitian culture in itself. When you think about Haitian food in terms of how it started, you actually have a mixture of the Africans. Or actually, let's take it back even one step further. You had the Taino Indians, which were the Arawaks that were original inhabitants of Haiti. So they have this cultural like taste in terms of taste buds. Then you had West Africans that came in because of slavery that meshed into that. So you had those culinary traditions mixing with the original inhabitants of the culture. Then you had the influence of the French. So they had their French, because when they're coming to take to oversee a country, like they're bringing their cultural, their culinary cultural experience to that. That's why you have the salad russe, macaroni gratiné, pomme de terre gratiné, all this other stuff. It's technically French.
It's all French,
but it's mixed with our Caribbean roots. But then at the same time, we were occupied by the Spanish as well. So you break that down. So you have a culture that the original inhabitants, then you had the rest of Africa coming into it, then you have French, then you have Spanish food all into one. That's why Haitian food is one of the best foods that exists. Most people, like, you could say whatever you want. And I run a food festival that connects Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, and South America. But when you think about Haitian food, everybody that's tried it, I've never met someone that has tried a Haitian food that did not like it. And it's not because I'm biased. It's because of the culinary tradition of who we are. And that's why the Haiti Food and Spirits Festival is so great, because we were bringing chefs like Pierre Thiam, Chef Roble, Digby, you name it, Chef Sean, and the founders of the Creole Festival, one in particular, Chef Stéphane, who has been a culinary genius in terms of pushing Haitian culinary to the forefront and teaching people. Like Chef Juvens Jean, who is a dope chef that one chef wanted, but they offered him the Nikki Beach property. He turned it down.
Wow.
But he's Haitian and Bahamian. But he went and worked at Caribe for a while and was teaching the new generation of chefs. That's why I like our food to a certain extent too. And then you had this festival that was going on, and I remember we were bringing all these international chefs to come down, and they were just like, oh my God, this food is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And they were shocked because like, that's not something that we're known for. That's not something that we talk about and we actually tell people about.
Why not?
That's a good question. I don't know what the answer is. Just kind of like I think that it's just that we were living at that particular moment in Haiti where we were not really advertising our culture. Think about like our beaches are some of the best ones in the world.
Right.
But we were not pushing that. When people were talking about Haiti and all that stuff, we were just like, yeah, whatever. We already know how great we are. We already know our history. We already know 1804. You didn't know about that? All right, don't worry. We don't have to we didn't feel like we needed to actually promote ourselves. And it wasn't until there was a shift, because what the earthquake did as well was kind of like, hey, no, like I'm not gonna just yes, this tragedy happened, but we're more than just a country that was hit by an earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, we're more than that. There's our culture, there's our beaches, there's our rum, there is our savoir vivre, there is our resilience as a people. Like those are the things that we really never really push until that disaster made us and forced us to actually unite to a certain extent.
Right. That's what's up.
Wow.
Talk to us
Nice.
some more about this food fest, being that we're on this topic. When is it? Is it a yearly thing? What's the undertaking to make this event a success?
Oof. So just some background about it. Prior to even starting the food festival, my business partner and I, Elcare, did about 2 years of research. And the 2 years of research that we were doing, we were just meeting up, trying to figure out how to create this and what's the best way to create it. It's kind of like doing market research to figure out, hey, what's going on, whatever it is. So I've always been involved into food. I was the U.S. representative for the Haiti Food and Spirits Festival when they were doing it. But even prior to that, I worked with Barbados. So when Barbados had the Concord and they were actually getting influencers from New York to actually come down, to actually increase people to come down to Barbados, I was one of the people. Kwame Jackson was one of them. Demetria Lucas was one of them. A lot of these people that are kind of like, Kwame from The Apprentice, Demetria is from a Belle in Brooklyn. All these different individuals were the ones coming down, creating packages and all the stuff and getting influencers to come down. And then through that experience, what I've learned and interacting with the chefs is that I found out that chefs of color have to work 5 times as hard to gain the notoriety of their white counterparts. But that's not even the only issue. Chefs of color in general, if they don't actually have a certain look, a certain way of looking, then they're not even going to get the notoriety that they deserve. So, for example, think about the chefs that that are popular. Dr. Samuelson.
Yeah.
From Red Rooster. Roble.
Right.
Roble.
Kwame, which is actually the newer chef. Yeah. But they all have a certain aesthetic. But at the same time, does that really translate to food? Not entirely. I'm a firm believer that I can't trust your food if I don't know that you're a little pudgy, because I know that if you're eating really that good, you're gonna eat your own food as well.
Yeah,
but it's
discrimination.
They say never trust a skinny chef.
Well, but no, you can trust a skinny chef after you tasted their food. But after a while, it's just kind of like, if you're really making banging food like that, you're gonna eat your own food.
Right, exactly.
But for me, it's just being around these chefs and hearing. I'm one of those that I listen and I take notes. So while they were talking and having these conversations, I'm just like, wow, this makes no sense. And then I had a friend of mine that actually did all of the events for Food and Wine magazine. And through her and attending Best New Chefs, because Food and Wine has this event called Best New Chefs every single year. They used to do it. And in the Best New Chef, there was never a chef of color. It wasn't until lately that they're doing more, and their chefs of color are more kind of Latino or Asian. But before it was just all white chefs. And mind you, I'm doing Barbados Food Festival. I'm doing Haiti Food Festival. And I'm meeting all these incredibly dope chefs. And there's really no real platform for them to showcase their creativity and talent. And then I was just and then I looked at all the festivals that were being done. There's a lot of festivals out there, but a lot of the times what happens with these festivals is that they do not focus purely on the food. They'll have vendors that are selling art. They'll have someone that's selling this, someone that's selling that. but it takes away from the festival.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were doing our research, we were just like, if we are going to do a food festival, it needs to be high end. Not only it needs to be high end, it needs to represent these cultures in a way that allows these chefs to be able to showcase their creativity and talent. Mm-hmm. And we have to actually allow them to succeed. We are one of the few festivals that provides the chefs that are participating an honorarium and their food budget.
What does that mean?
Meaning like we give them like money for them to actually buy their food and actually cook it. And most festivals do not do that unless they are a celebrity chef that is actually being sponsored by a brand. And the brand does that or pays for it. Mm-hmm. But most of the chefs, up and coming, new, whatever it is, no, they don't have a budget. So for us, we were like, if we're really going to respect the chefs and we're really about the culture and by elevating it, we have to be able to provide them with the minimum standards. It's not a lot that we provide them, but we provide them with an honorarium. Our honorarium can be something from $500 to kind of like, hey, as a thank you, I know you're taking a day to participate in this festival. At minimum, that's what we're going to give you. So, and then we provide them with a food budget. But what we do as well is that we provide every single chef participating with their own chef sign that is created by us. We provide them with all their plates, with all their forks. All they have to do when they come to the festival is literally set up their table representative of their country. The reason why we do that is that every single chef coming, whether you're a celebrity chef or you're up and coming chef, you are all on the same level. The only thing that determines the difference between all of you is your food. Mm. And it creates a little bit of competition, but at the same time, it's good because like chefs are also a fraternity. Like, and that's what you'll understand. If you're around chef, there's certain things that they say, like behind you, chef, like all these different things, like 5 clicks or whatever it is. But like it's a fraternity. So you put them in a situation that everybody can succeed. Like, for example, the last one that we did, we had Gregory Godet. Gregory Godet, top chef runner-up. Very well known. Portland, he actually was Portland Best Chef in 2017. He's a top chef judge now. All this other stuff. Gregory Godet was our celebrity chef. But we also had a Trinidadian chef that nobody knew that his food was just as good as Gregory's. But what it did is that it helped elevated his status. Right. But it also to people that were I have never been around Gregory, were able to be exposed to Gregory and his food. And that's the thing about the festival that we try to do. It's a huge undertaking because what it is with when you're doing festivals and where you're giving chefs honorarium and a food budget is that you're already starting off on the red, you know? And it's fine because for us, my business partner, Elker, and I, it's about longevity. We're not doing this just to make a quick buck. We're doing this to create legacy. And that's important for us. So we're building it right. We're respecting us. That's why we're going to be in our 4th year, but we literally have many celebrity chefs that are reaching out. They are like, hey, how come you didn't reach out to me? And that's a good sign because we treat them well. We respect them in their trade. We provide them with the respect that they need. And also too, it's a way for them to actually celebrate their own culture in a way that's authentic to who they are. And that's what it is. So our next thing is that like we're going to be in Atlanta in July. In New York, we're going to be doing New York 2 days, but we're actually going to expand to Brooklyn. Last time we did in New York, we had for the 2 days, we had 1,600 people. Wow. And we sold out. But at the same time, I know that it happened in Harlem, but a lot of people are not. If you live in Brooklyn, you're not going to go all the way to Harlem to actually go to a food festival. So we figured that we need to actually do a date in Brooklyn. So we're going to do that this year. We're going to do DC in October, and then we're going to go back to Miami in November. So that's our schedule for now.
Okay.
2-part question. One, what is there like a prize at the end of the day? Is there a, like how everybody's there giving their best? Does somebody win at the end? Is there
is there a competition?
Is it a competition?
I think the competition in itself is just like, it's more of like the chefs looking at, because every single chef has their own station. So every single chef, because of their station, has a line. Because whenever anybody that comes will have their tickets. And basically what they do is that like they go and pick out of the 8-9 chefs that we might have in one day, which chef that they want to spend their ticket in. So you'll always know which chef has some of the best food by the line that they have. Like, because then like people are because people are expressing themselves throughout the festival. They're eating the food and like they're like, oh my God, it's so good. Or you have to try it. or they'll go for seconds
Okay.
when there's other chefs around. So like there is a part of us this year that we want to create some type of competition in the chefs in terms of kind of like, hey, they could rate it, but it's also you have to have the right app to make it happen, to actually make it work very quickly. And you need a sponsor for that to actually make it work in a way that is very much kind of like authentic and there's no issues pertaining to it.
My second question, and you just great segue because you just talked about sponsors, and you were saying the food festival is a big undertaking. And I mentioned on the opening that director of strategic partnerships, right?
Yeah.
So you got to bring that hat into the ring when you're doing a big event like that, especially if you're traveling with it.
Yeah.
So how do you get your partnerships and the sponsorships? I know you got good relationships, but talk to us about how you get involved with that and who are some of your sponsors, dedicated sponsors of the Creole Food Fest.
It's really about cultivation. Anything that you do, relationships are about cultivation. It's kind of like, hey, like being able to invite someone that you like. For example, you invite a company that you want to sponsor. You obviously you have your deck, you have your one pager, you have kind of like your pitch in regards to like the festival. But a lot of the times, most companies want to see something. So a lot of the things that we do in terms of our cultivation is that we will have companies that are targets that we want to work with, and we know that they support food events. Because that's the other thing too. Not every single company is going to be supporting food events. It has to be a company that's in their wheelhouse, and that's what they want to do. So we'll invite them. Like, for example, last year, we've invited a good 15 companies, comp tickets and all that stuff. We gave them the VIP experience as a way to actually showcase them and teach them about the festival. The issue that we face a lot of the times too is that because we call it the Creole Food Festival, people think that it's only representing Haitian. and New Orleans food, which is far from the case. Because the way that we define Creole food and Creole Food Festival is representative of the diaspora. So it is Africa, it is Caribbean, it is Latin America, South America, and it's the south of the US. The reason why we say it that way is because in Martinique, they call it Creole, and they spell it Kreyol.
Right.
In Antigua, they might call it Creole. They spell it Kriol. In Cape Verde, they call it Criollo, which is Criollo. And then in Brazil, they call it Crioulo, which is Ciroullo. And then in other places like Honduras, they call it Garifuna. Same thing, it's Creole food. So it's really kind of like teaching. A lot of the things that we've done over the past years is really teaching people. And I'm very big on that. Yes, in every single Creole festival that we do, one thing that we always do is that at minimum, there's a Haitian chef because of the culinary nature of Haiti, period. Right. There's always a Southern chef, whether it is a chef from, I would say, from Charleston, South Carolina, from Atlanta, from New Orleans, whatever it is, because when you think about the history of food in the South, that's authentic, like Creole food, okay? So, for example, we were the first festival that brought BJ Dennis to the Creole Food Festival about 2 years ago. BJ Dennis did a whole series on Netflix that everybody was talking about called High in the Hog. And he was one of the featured chefs in that. And that series worked really well, and they're doing season 2. Another chef that we had invited that was not able to make it is Omar Tate. Another chef that's really dope in terms of culinary, but they're very big on traditions in terms of the Southern culture. So we always have a Southern chef, we always have a Haitian chef, we always have at minimum one chef from West Africa. We always have at minimum one chef from South America. We always have a minimum one chef from Latin America and a minimum one chef from the Caribbean. So for example, when you think about St. Lucia, their Creole is different, right? But it's still Creole. They call it Creole, you know? So like Martinique and Guadeloupe, it's the same thing. So it's really like uniting people in a way. And I remember when we were doing our research, Elker and I think around that same time, that was when Donald Trump was calling shithole countries. And I remember like we were so upset and all this other stuff. And I was just like, well, that's just ignorance on his part, because the countries that you're calling shithole countries are the bedrock of civilization. When you think about it, right? African culture, you could say all you want. That's where civilization started. Right. So for us, we wanted to create a festival instead of focusing, especially America, the way that it's been lately. It's kind of like you're either this or that. And there's no middle ground. I remember the time that you could actually agree to disagree with someone and say, hey, I understand your point of view. I could see it. That's not what I subscribe to. But hey, we could be civil.
Right.
So what we wanted to do when we were creating the food festival as well is create a festival that unites us as people from the diaspora, because it is our culture. It is intrinsically who we are. So that's kind of like what a lot of the mindsets behind it.
Wow. So now creating this is awesome. I applaud you on that, because that's a big deal. So how long in advance do you have to prepare a festival? Because you got to look for a spot. You got to look for you showcase. How do you what's the preparation like?
So literally for our festivals right now, for the one in July in Atlanta, we're literally doing it in partnership with an entity that's already in Atlanta, because it's the first time that we're entering a new market. So, and we've done our surveys when we were entered New Orleans for the first time. Partnership is important. So one of the things that we try to, whenever we do our festival, we take a step back after the festival and we're like, okay, what were the things that went well? What were the things that we could have done better in? And one of the things that we did, mistake that we did in New Orleans, is that we tried to do it during Essence Festival. We knew Essence Festival was great, and it had a platform, but we thought that, hey, we're a festival about food and people of color, maybe some of that will translate as well. And what we realized by doing it at Essence is that if you're not in the dome where the festival is happening, or in a partnership with it, there's no way, no how you're getting people to actually attend your event. We did okay. We broke even. But then we were just like, okay, the right partnerships. So whenever we're entering a new market, what we do now is that we do it in partnership with an entity that's already in the food realm, that already is exposed over there for that. So that's why for us, we're doing, for example, Chef Todd Richards that we featured in New York is one of the godfathers of soul food. He was the only chef that, or probably the first chef, it might not be the only chef, probably the first chef to ever gain a James Beard Award while having a restaurant at an airport.
Interesting.
Yeah. James Beard Award, restaurant in an airport. So when you think about it, at airports, it's not real like you're going in trying to get your burger and you're running out and whatever it is. For you to get a James Beard Award for a restaurant at an airport means that you're bad. He did like some lamb ribs at the Creole Food Festival that literally he just sold out. And it was incredible. Everything was grass fed. He even came in with them. He cooked them on the grill right then and there. Probably some of the best ribs I've ever had in my whole life. Wow. But he takes pride in his trade. So he's based in Atlanta, and he has soul food. He has another company that he does. He actually owns 2 restaurants in Atlanta. So we're creating a partnership with him, and also we're looking into speaking with Sim Walker, who actually is the founder of The Grill. He has actually a place in Atlanta in terms of in another entity to actually create that partnership. And that's the thing too for us, is that we're big on partnerships. We believe in working in a community because our goal is not singular. It's not like we're just trying to do this for us. We're doing this for the culture. We're doing this to elevate the culture. We're doing it to represent our food and culture and what it is. So that's why for us, we're always big on partnerships pertaining to the food industry, and always willing to do that.
Speaking of culture, do you get a lot of support from the culture with this?
In Miami, we did. The first time we did in Miami, it was kind of because of where we had the event as well. We had it at the Little Haiti Cultural Center, outdoors in front of that. So it was literally, I had my cousin Tico, who's actually really well known in Miami. So she was pushing it. Tico. Yes. She was really pushing it really hard for us. So we did get a big support from the culture. But a lot of the times, we all know this. A lot of times our own culture will not follow or would not support unless we get the recognition from other cultures.
Outside the culture.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's so?
I don't know. I'm still.
So you're saying somebody not Jay-Z, but a Jay-Z caliber needs to co-sign it.
Yeah, or even someone else that's actually big that co-signs it and all this other stuff. So it's been something that I've seen, and not only in my business endeavors, but in other business endeavors too, because there's been some great business individuals that are Haitian that have created great products. And I always wonder, how come we don't support them as much? For example, I'll give you a perfect example of something similar. Haiti Culture Exchange. I used to sit on the board of Haiti Culture Exchange. Haiti Culture Exchange does some of the best programming representing the Haitian culture. All right, they did the film festival. They did they do this Untitled. They do this artist. They do all these other things. That organization sometimes, like literally, it was just like kind of like pulling ears just to get people to actually attend. In terms of programs, I don't think there's any organization that does programs in New York pertaining to the Haitian culture that is much more like significant than Haiti Culture Exchange. But that organization was dealing with a lot of just kind of like non-support. And it wasn't until like, even till this day, like they still don't get as much support as they deserve, but they started getting more grants and they're able to do more advertising and all that stuff to actually display the culture. But originally it's just kind of like, I remember sitting on the board and we were just like, what can we do to get more people out? But at the same time, if there's a class playing somewhere, if there's a new look playing, no offense to that. I love class. I love like compa and all this other stuff. But it can't just be that. We have to be able to support our cultural organizations.
Absolutely.
we could be here all day.
Yeah, we could be here for another hour talking about this stuff.
That because we literally talk about that. I think in every episode. With the support.
Just trying to figure out what is, and everybody's like, I don't know. Just trying to
clothing.
Is it psychological? Is it right? Go ahead.
It's just like clothing, the clothing part,
the
music.
Yeah.
It's just
the
tough.
restaurant,
the restaurant.
It's tough.
So
it's competitive. I think
extremely.
I think what it is too is that like I don't know why, like I've always been of the mindset that I want to see everybody succeed. I don't believe that I need that crabs in the barrel mentality that I need you to pull you in so that I could get out. No, we could create a chain and get out together.
So you don't believe in the mentality of you're doing better than me. Why? You don't need my support.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's what we hear. I'm sorry, John. I don't mean to be banging the table, but that is something.
Joe's about to stop recording.
No.
That's the mentality. Go to a wedding. You go to a Haitian wedding. I'm literally sitting at the table with them, and they're like, they don't need my money. They look at the wedding. Look how glamorous the wedding is. Why do they need my little? But the mentality
is support.
But it's the same way. I guess every industry.
Yeah. But I don't think it's every industry though. I've been around certain groups and I won't name them or whatever it is.
Okay.
There's certain groups that literally they support each other. Like, and I'm just gonna name one because everybody will know this one. Jewish community. They're a very tight-knit family.
Right.
For example, my business partner is from Sudan. And Elcare literally is like from big Sudanese family, but at the same time, he used to be a member of Three Kings. I don't know if you guys remember Three Kings back in the day.
I think so. Back in the day,
So, but at the same time, like
South
the support that I see that his community gives him, like sometimes I'm just like, man, I wish my Haitian people were like this. But it's also too, you have to lead by example. You know what? If someone is not doing something, the only way that you could change people's perception is by being like, hey, you know what? Okay, you didn't support me. I'll still come support you. Because like over time, you're going to get it. Yeah. It's kind of like, hey, you lead by example.
It's a great segue you talk about that because I mean, you go to a lot of these Haitian restaurants, right? So you support them, but are they providing a service?
Oof. Okay. Yeah. So that's the other thing too. So for example, I've always been, because of my realm, like in college, I bartended for Andrew Carmelino when he was opening the first Avoce. That's where I got my service kind of like industry from. I didn't know, I was just doing it to actually like, hey, be a bartender, make money and all this other stuff. But I didn't know that like ultimately I would actually come in the food world. That was not my intention. I have a master's in international relations. I went into the diplomacy. I actually like worked for the ACLU. I worked for Melvin E. Myers. That was the path that I was on.
Okay.
But it just so happens that through circumstances in life, I love food anyway. So it ended up working out that like I got into that realm. But yes, in our industry, there is a problem pertaining to service. And also too, like they'll look at you as though like you're doing them, like they're doing you a favor by you coming to support them. And one of the issues that I've always had is that, and I'm glad that Fred opened the restaurant that he has in the Lower East Side. in terms of rebel, because he used to have First Republic in New Jersey.
Right.
And like it was a great transition for him.
Yes.
And he took a major risk because he started this during the pandemic.
Right.
Okay, you know, like, hey, out of all the times that you want to open your restaurant, but he ended up getting a good deal. He made it work. But at least then we have a place that we can go. We could sit down and not feel embarrassed. Okay. And I used to hate that because yes, our food is great and all this other stuff, but I can't take you to the backyard or to like a hole in the wall so that like you could even sit down, especially if you're not from the culture. I get it. You understand it because it's all about the food. But if you're a stranger, not known to the culture, I need to take you at least to a place that, hey, you might be able to get a cocktail. Like, yes, the food might take a little bit, but like you have a service. They'll bring you a drink. They'll bring you something. Right. But unfortunately, in our culture, but in Haiti, it's different. In Haiti, there's an aspect of service that exists in Haiti, but it exists in Haiti as well because of almost indentured servitude that is in Haiti as well. Because they have these people that owns the restaurants, and they have T. Josette Cap Travail. They have this guy that's working here. They're not paying them as much, which is why you had this whole manifestation that happened in terms of the industry workers that were working in the factories they were getting for Gap and all this other stuff. They were not getting the minimum wage.
Right.
Like, you know, like the minimum wage, I forgot the exact amount. Don't quote me on this, that they were asking for. I think it was like $15 a month or something like that. So like it was like some crazy numbers, 15 or 50. Like it was like some crazy number. Yeah. Like, and they were getting pushback on it. So yeah, but we do have the service to a certain extent. If you go to Caribe, you go to all these like major places, Vialdor, like you go to Pizza Garden and all that stuff, you do have service. But it's also you have to be mindful, and when you look at the service, who's working there and how they're getting paid. Because I'm always kind of like always mindful. Right. Like, so, and because like
coming from the service industry, you look at things differently.
Yeah. And I'm mindful too because of the simple fact that I hate when people are rude to people that are working in restaurants, whatever it is.
Yes.
This sense of entitlement that you're like, hey, you know what? Because this person is working as a waiter or as a bartender or has like whatever it is, that I need to treat them differently. I always hate that. I'm always friendly. I'm always courteous. Like I'm probably gonna be more courteous to them than my friends that are sitting next to me. I could actually like, but like for them, like you know, like it's simple.
They taking care of your food.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They go in that kitchen. That kitchen there's a long path, you know,
before it comes out, right?
Yeah, before it comes out to your table.
So
trust me, that's interesting. You say that because I see a lot of comments. We pay a lot of attention to that because in that sector, in the culture, we do lack service. But then it's a two-sided coin. Like you said, the customer also has some sort of entitlement. They feel that they have an entitlement, but at the same time, the service we have to, I think at a time, we have to keep the owners or the managers, we have to hold them accountable. But we keep going back to the same to the same restaurant.
But I think there's something that we could hold them accountable without, for example, if you know this is a mom and pop shop, for example, like you're not getting the service that you want, like talk to the person first, you know, like be like, hey, you know what, hey guys, was here, this is what it is. Like when I go to like the Haitian restaurant, there's one on 50th, I think is like a 10th. Or like around that area.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah, Le Soleil, I think.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time.
I'll go there like sometimes when like the service is not right. The food is good.
Yes.
Like I'm not gonna go to, because I know like it's a lot for them to undertake too. It's tough. So like I'm not gonna go and do, but at the same time they do have a responsibility as well to know, hey, if I'm gonna be in this industry, I need to do better. Otherwise, let's not do it at all. I'm a firm believer that if you're gonna do something, do it right, or wait until you're ready to do it. I've always wanted to have a restaurant and lounge, and it's ultimately one of the goals that I still have. But I'm not gonna open it when I'm not ready. And I don't have the right team. I don't have the right chef. I don't have the right training.
True.
And hopefully that's why like the festival is a great segue for me in terms of that next space, because then founder of the Creole Food Festival opens restaurant.
Beautiful.
Then that it leads to that. There's a storyline pertaining to it. Nice. And that's the thing with people. A lot of the times you have to like think about long term in terms of storyline, something that can actually create something.
Yeah, because I love the restaurant industry. I love the Haitian culture, and we always talking about the restaurant industry. We always talking about it where we know people, you know, they just come across some money, and this is something they like. You know what? I want an investment. I want to make an investment. Let's open up a restaurant.
Well, send them my way.
But no, you're right. And but then these people. But here's the thing. When I was, I think I was in my 30s. So there's a Haitian restaurant in Freeport. They closed now. So I'm sitting there. Service was bad. Everything was bad. I literally got up and it was like, I went to the owner by the bar. He was standing by the bar. He looked stressed out. And I said, bro, you need help. And I started working there for free.
Wow.
I was volunteering myself. I was.
Oh, you were getting food though. You weren't volunteering.
Oh, yeah. I was getting food, but it was
that's how frustrated you.
Yeah, I was so frustrated because it's like this could be my uncle, this could be my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It could be a family member, and it was just like, he can't be doing this all himself. He's bringing out the food, and come to find out, there's a trust issue. He's counting the money at the bar. He's taking it's like, and I had to literally sit him down and say, nah, bro.
Yeah,
this is not how it works because you're gonna burn yourself out, and who's gonna run the restaurant?
Right.
And I noticed that within the Haitian culture, a lot of these restaurant owners, there's a trust issue. There's no service training prior to opening. There's no yearly service training for these waiters. They're just literally taking people from the street, paying them off the books. So it's kind of like, well. Yeah. How do you think these people are gonna act? You know, it's crazy.
It's poor planning. I think a lot of it too is just kind of like a dream, and it's kind of like there's nothing wrong with having the dream and all this other stuff, but there's the work that goes with it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the people sometimes they try to skip the work. It will show ultimately. Like when you skip the work, no matter what you do in any industry, whatever it is, you try to skip the work, not gonna work for you, bro. Like if you're working out, work out. But don't say you're working out and then you're only working out once a week. Like that's skipping the work.
That's true.
Like and every single thing that you have to do, you have to be consistent. You have to actually be like, hey, and a lot of them too, like to their credit is that there's a dream, they had this opportunity, and they're making it work, and they're trying to do it. Unfortunately, they don't know the industry, they don't know service, they don't know training, and it becomes an issue. And because what it is that like well, my aunt is a great cook. Well, she could be the chef. All right, cool. But at the same time, does she know the standards in terms of industry, in terms of like food, in terms of preparation, what temperature it needs to be, what temperature your refrigeration needs to be? All these things matter. Once you're getting to like an industry that has set standards, you have to know the standards. You cannot say, I did not know. And that's the problem with them sometimes. They're just saying, well, I didn't know. But no, you have to do the research. Like I've had this food concept, literally, in terms of like, I have my business plan, everything is set up. But at one point, I was just looking for my chef. When I finally found my chef, it was just not the right time. And also, too, I'm not going to rush it because once I open it, it's something that's going to be open and I want to pass over to my kids, so my grandkids, so that like it could be something that's passed on. So if I try to rush it, I might do like 5-10 years, but that's not longevity.
No, it's not.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it.
You should just come out with like a service school. I mean, you could do it, bro. Because we need that, man.
We need, exactly.
We need
I'm
that.
glad you said it.
Yeah,
I am so happy.
We need it,
I was waiting.
I feel like that's like that side conversation that you guys have had already.
We been
It's in our blood. Like it's coming out like out of our
we talk about it all the time.
All the
You know what I'm
time,
saying?
like-
Because the food's so great. And it's, we got to match the food with the service. And we got to that's the only way we're going to be able to get it to the next level. And I know you're prideful on that. And I'm just putting it out there, bro.
Nah,
Like,
I can't take that on. One of the things that I've learned over time too is that like you can't try to take on everything, bro. It's just like, but I will say to you, ICC has a program.
ICC?
I think is it International Culinary. It's a culinary school.
Okay.
They have a program for that.
Okay.
There's another culinary school in the U.S. that has like in New York that has like these programs
Okay.
Like, and that's why I always say that, like, if people are really passionate about it, if this is a passion for you, like, you do the research. You'll be like, all right, cool. I want to be a sommelier. How do I become a sommelier? There's tests that you take. There's like all these different things, and there's different levels to sommeliers as well. So you can't just say, I want to be a sommelier and just like, no, you have to do the research. You have to do the test. You have to actually learn about the different grapes, the different regions. How is this wine different from this wine? How are you able to actually like there's an industry.
Right.
Like in restaurants, certain restaurants, a sommelier could make something easily as $160K easily. And then sometimes it's matched with like the amount of bottles that they're selling. I remember like when I was at Avoce, it was the first time that I was ever exposed to that type of wealth. There were people at that time. There was a Concorde. There was people taking a Concorde to fly in just to have Andrew Carmelini's grandma ravioli. I didn't think it was that impressive.
Wow.
It was really good. Don't get me wrong. It's good.
Okay.
But flying to like just eat and then like obviously they made it like they went to a show, they went to a play, and they had the food, and then like they took that Concorde back. But it was the first time that I was exposed to that type of wealth and kind of like service. Like when you're doing service, like when you put down the table, like you don't cross in front of the person. You're supposed to put it like this. Like you're supposed to know, hey, like after the appetizer, when do I actually fire my entree? Because you know exactly how much time it takes, and you don't want them to wait that long.
Exactly.
Like there's certain industry minimum standards that you need to know.
Yeah. No, you're right. And it's basic 101 restaurant
etiquette.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we need. If there's someone out there, please, because this is killing us right now.
Fabrice is too busy.
It's not I'm too busy.
We need,
but you know
like,
what? You made me think about it. I literally will think about it and find out if there are people that are actually doing that, because I know there probably are, because service
regular
training.
Service training.
The same guy that actually did it for Avoce, his name was Thierry. He ended up going with Michael Glick to open another restaurant and steakhouse. But he literally was the service guru. That's what he did. Like he would have a whole binder and then we would go over service. I remember the first time they asked, like, how do you have your steak? And like, man, growing up in Haiti and Haitian parents, you know how like they cook the steak, man. Yeah. They literally like it's well done well done. And I remember like being so proud. I'm like, yeah, I know this one. I was like, well done. And everybody looked at me because there was only 2 black people at that moment. Like, no, Andrew was like, no, a steak is always supposed to be medium rare. He's like, because if it's good quality steak, you don't need to overcook it to actually get the true flavor. Obviously, it also depends on the person as well. But in terms of real food, if you're talking about foodies and culinaries, there's a certain minimum standard that you normally do it. Obviously, your palate might be different. You're like, yo, I don't like to see red in my steak. Then you'll change the la cuisson. But it's not. You have to understand it.
I learned a little trick in the with the.
Somebody's been teaching you how to cook, huh?
No, I've been. Well, yeah. Hands down. Bow down. No, but that's a segue. No.
That ain't no segue. That's a direct message.
That's a direct message. I'm a tag.
Damn.
No, but seriously, it's like, okay, I've never really expressed myself as far as background. I'm coming from the service industry for 15 plus years. So obviously I look at things differently, and there's a certain kind of experience that you have to have. When you walk into a restaurant, it's not particularly the food, because everyone can make, whatever, grilled chicken, pasta, burgers and fries. It's the experience.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about what you guys are producing as far as that brand, Creole Food Festival, because it's the experience that they're having within those few hours and enjoying literally, oh my God, the chef is right here in front of me. And it's not even, the food is great, but then it's everything else around it.
And that was important for us. It really was, because I was just like, hey, like I didn't want it to just be a regular festival. I wanted people to be exposed to the culture as well, because that's why at the festival we play everything. We play Afrobeats, we play salsa, we play merengue, we play compa, we play kizomba. We play everything that is reflective of that target market. So it's like you feel Like, for example, if you're Martinique and Guadeloupe, you feel like, oh shit, they know my music.
Right.
If you're from West Africa or you're from Brazil, we'll play that. We'll play some Tumoto Pagode. Like, and like
That's
you'll be like,
beautiful,
yo,
man.
I feel connected.
Right.
And for us too, is that we always have a live music component. We've had Mapi, like who's the violinist. She actually is the soca reggae hip hop violinist. We had her. We had an Afro-Cuban band. We had a brass band. We had everything. So it's literally kind of like creating that experience. And that's why for us it's so important. Like someone could actually come to the festival and they'll say to us, hey, you know what, one of the chefs, like his food was a little cold, blah, 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 blah. We're able to find a way to rectify it. I don't want anybody leaving the festival without being fully satisfied.
All inclusive.
So yeah, that's it.
Beautiful.
Interesting.
Let's talk about something that's dear to your heart before you get out of here. Philanthropy.
Yeah.
And I think what was the event that you were doing?
Haiti Cherie, Pride, Love, and Commitment.
You remember
Wow.
that? Bro.
I was
that was
running to that event, bro.
because was that at no, not at Mansion.
It was somewhere in the city.
Yeah.
Fabrice called us. We were providing some items for the goodie bag.
Yeah.
We were there late, and he was like, why y'all here so late? He was like, I don't even want to see y'all. He was like, look, go in the back room and just put y'all stuff in the goodie bag.
Yeah.
But it was, you were always
that was at Broad Street Ballroom, I think.
Yes.
Broad Street Ballroom,
yes.
right across from the New York Stock Exchange.
Yes.
We did it at Broad Street Ballroom. We did it at a couple of different places. That was actually an event that was really near and dear to my heart, because the reason why it was near to my heart at that particular time is because we had no platform at that particular time that was representing younger professionals that was celebrating our culture. Because everybody else, you had IMS that was doing it, but it was like more like your dad and like your uncles, the older generation.
Right.
You had Noah that was doing their event, and we had nothing for younger professionals. And it started off as like my friend DeMarco Morgan, who's the news anchor, that we were talking about, and I was like, you know what, hey, I'm tired of hearing or feeling helpless in terms of like raising funds for Haiti. And I knew for a fact that I wasn't living in Haiti, so therefore I wasn't the one doing the work. So I was like, you know what is the biggest issue that these organizations in Haiti are facing? They can't fundraise. They can't raise money. They are doing the work, but they are not able to have access to capital. And I was just like, okay, so let's do a fundraiser where we are able to raise money for organizations that are creating sustainable change in the country. That we're not the ones going to be using the money, but we're providing them once they submit an application in terms of what the work that they do. That was the most important thing for me. And then I was like, hey, what is one day in the year that like I know that like I can get people out? It was my birthday. So instead of celebrating my birthday every single year, I held that event. So since you want to come support me for my birthday, all right, cool. Come support me and make a donation towards this non-for-profit. And that's how it started. The first one that we did, it started with that. And then we were just like, how about we honor Haitian professionals as well? Because at that moment, that was not being done as well.
Smart.
So we did from Andre Bertle to what's his name, Ralph Gilles, who was the one that was that created the Chrysler 300. We've had everybody from Jimmy Jean-Louis, like we were like, and it was great work, and we were doing it. And the question is probably is going to come next is like, why did you stop?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't like actually spoken about this in public at all, but I figured I might as well explain it. So my team and everybody that worked with me were doing this, and literally to plan a fundraiser of that caliber, it's like 6 months of planning. Okay. And we were doing that for free. 100% of the money donated was going after costs, was going directly to the organizations that are creating sustainable change in Haiti. But every single year, we picked either one or two organizations. What I realized is that a lot of the times, the organizations, if they were a recipient before, when they were a recipient, they will push and market and all this other stuff. And I love that because, like, you know, they want their people to come out because, hey, they're the beneficiary. It's a great event. They don't have to do much, and they can actually get exposed to this new realm of potential donors. Great. But the years that they were not the recipients, same type of energy was not there. Same type of energy. But at the same time, for me, I would look at it this way. I'm like, you know how much that donation, what we raise, means to your organization.
Right.
So you know how much it will mean for the next organization.
Right.
So why not do the same type of
thing.
marketing to help that other organization?
Mm.
Because for us, we were doing all the work for free anyways. So we were doing it after work and all this other stuff. And then it got to a point where I was just like, no, it doesn't make sense. And then at that same time, Haitian Roundtable started doing their event. So I was like, all right, cool. So I was like, oh, well, you know what? I could pass the torch on to them because it's still an event that they're doing that is highlighting Haitian culture, highlighting all this other stuff. I already kind of like was feeling some type of way about kind of like the support for the organizations that were not supporting each other in the way that I envision. It's kind of like when you create this concept in your mind of how it would go. You're like, oh, you know what? The same organization would support this organization and would support that organization and all this other stuff.
And these organizations work.
They were beneficial. Yeah.
In Haiti?
Yeah. They were all in Haiti.
Wow. Because
Every single organization that we actually supported was doing work in Haiti. There was not an organization that was actually, there probably was one. And I think one year we did, I forgot which organization it was, but they were based in New York and Haiti at the same time. But that's what it is. And people ask me all the time, they're like, when are you going to bring it back? When are you going to, literally this year would have been our 10th year anniversary. We stopped doing it at the 7th year. So we haven't done it in 3 years. But people were like, hey, you know what? The times are different. It might be time for you to bring it again and see where it goes. But yeah, it was 6 months. It was great. It represented the culture well. Like everybody was dressed to the T. Everybody was dressed to the T, and it was great. And it's like, because I know so many people that literally were at the start of their careers and all that stuff, and literally connected with people. That's one of the things that I loved about that event as well.
Yeah.
People would be like, hey, I met my husband through this event, or I met a business partner through that event, or I started doing business with this person, or I met my doctor through this event. So it was all of that all at once. Right. But it was just kind of like, for me, it was just like, for me now, I'm like, you know, I'd rather make a donation and actually do, or at least a smaller event. For example, when was it the hurricane that just happened in Haiti? Yeah. Literally, there's a school that I support on my own in Lekai. And the guy reached out to me. He's like, I know you don't do fundraisers anymore, but like, he sent me the pictures. The school is completely devastated and completely broken down. I was like, where are the kids? Where the kids go to school? He's like, well, they're in the yard, like over a tarp. And he's like, is there anything that you could do? So it was during the pandemic. And I think that like, literally, I was just like, all right, cool. I reached out to a couple of friends of mine. One of them actually manages Spin, which is Susan Sarandon ping pong thing. And he's Asian. And I called Johnny. I was like, Johnny, bro, I need a venue. Because whenever you're doing fundraisers, the most expensive thing is always the venue. Yeah. Right. Always the venue. Yeah. If you can get a venue for free, then everything else is just icing on the cake. Yeah. Called my friend called DJ Kamish, who actually is our resident DJ for the Creole Food Festival. And I was just like, I need you to DJ for me. Like, I made a couple phone calls, and then we literally raised, with only 20 people there, over $5,000 for the organization. Over five. Yeah. Nice. 20 people.
20 people.
Yep.
Very nice.
Yeah. And then we sent it, and then like, they are almost done rebuilding the school. But it's not a major event, a major fundraiser where you're reaching out to honorees, you're doing like table seatings, you're doing this, sponsors. No. Right. But it was something quick that like, I could still be effective and I could still help and do it that way.
It's a party with a cause.
Yeah. It wasn't really a party. It was just like ping pong and pool, a couple of drinks, a little burger here and there.
A vibe.
A good vibe.
Yeah, but the other communities, that's how they network. That's how it's done.
That's how it's done.
It's most of the networks are done on a golf course. Yeah. You know, wherever their kids are playing on the same baseball team. And negotiating is done right there on the baseball field.
Same Ivy League.
Same Ivy League education, everything.
Jill, what is that? Jack and Jill? Jack and Jill.
Yep. And that's how I learned. I was just like learning, listening to a lot of these people. I'm like, oh, that's how it's done. It's not necessarily, because I have $1 million. Nah, it's just
it's connections.
It's all connections, man.
And I think like in closing too, that's one of the things I want people to understand. You never really know who's paying attention to you. So everything that you do, whether it is whatever you're aspiring to do, like everything that you're doing, make sure that you do it to the best of your ability. Because there were doors that opened for me, but it was through people that were watching me that I never knew. So I think people need to understand that. And wherever you are today does not determine where you're going to be tomorrow. And I think it's so good for people to understand that. We live in a society because of Instagram and all these people are always posting about their successes and all that stuff. And you're looking at yourself sometimes, you're just like, oh shit, I guess my life. My life, what's going on with me? I'm like really like not doing anything.
Right.
And you're not getting it. For that one take, I think which comedian that said this, for that one take that they posted on Instagram, they probably tried 30 times to actually do it. And then that same picture, you're letting that dictate in your mind where you are, your sense of self-worth and where you need to be. And we need to stop doing that. Everybody has their own journey, their own path. You might be this close to actually breaking out, but because you're allowing your perception on where you are to make you quit, you don't get there. So I think that that's the thing that I want people to understand is that like, hey, follow your dream, do what you want to do, but also to be mindful. If you're doing something, you say that you're going to do something, do it properly, do it in the best way of your ability, and then take it from there. But don't give up on your goals.
Wow. Valid point.
Wow.
Beautiful. Before you get out of here, HRT, we were backstage. This guy comes in a custom suit. And ever since then, we've been calling him Mr. President, right? Mr. President.
Right.
What are your thoughts? We got no president in Haiti right now. What are your, before you get out of here, we got to ask you, what does Haiti need to like really move forward as a culture? Your thoughts.
Great question.
Wow, God, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
What does Haiti need? I think that first is a change of mindset. And literally, I had this conversation with a friend of mine, Idzi Bijou. Literally, his family really did almost ran a lot of the major pharmaceuticals in Haiti. He left Haiti and then he's living in Tanzania with his kids. And I remember when he was thinking about moving out of Haiti. And he grew up in Haiti, was raised in Haiti. His parents were raised in Haiti. We went to Saint Louis together. So it was just one of those where he was like, yo, bro, there was one time I'm trying to pick up my kids. Manifestation, there's like all over the place. And he's like, I didn't know how I was going to get out of it. I didn't know how I was going to pick my kids up. He's like, from that moment, he's like, I knew that like I couldn't raise my kids here anymore. Okay. So going back to change of mentality, there's this perception that sometimes we just need to accept things as they are because it's the way it's always been done. And Haiti has that major issue. Oh, no, c'est comme ça tout bas tout géré en Haïti. This is how everything has always been done. Just because it's always been done this way doesn't mean it's the right way for it to happen. And the problem is we've been kind of like complacent because it's the way it's always been done. Yeah. Like these people have always had power, then they should always have power. These people have always money, then they should always have money. And then it's messed up because what is happening too is that our educational system, in terms of what it was, back in the day, you used to be someone that did not grow up in a wealthy family, but if you were smart enough, you were able to get a scholarship or boost to like another country to make something better of yourself. Our educational system is not where it is. Our mentality in terms of what is expected, what should be regular people. And this is why you had like these gangs recruiting and getting all these people and like actually running the country because, to a certain extent, they got fed up with the way that things are going. The rich are getting richer. Nobody's actually thinking about the people. They're not thinking about providing services and all this other stuff. So I think the biggest thing for us is a change of mentality in terms of kind of like, no, we can't accept the same groups of family to actually run this corrupt system. Okay? We can't do that. It has not worked. It's not going to continue working. The people there needs to be a revolution of the people where they're like, hey, no. Where it also too is a revolution that is not being able to be bought. Because a lot of the times what happens and what has happened in the past, because of circumstances, these politicians are investing $10 million in terms of their campaigns. $10 million to buy the votes. Wow. Your vote, you can't allow people to buy your vote. Yeah, I take the money, but vote with your heart. Vote with the person that you believe is going to make a difference in the country. And I think if we've gotten to a point where we've allowed certain individuals to buy the votes, we've allowed certain parties to continue doing the same old thing. Corruption is at an all-time high, but then you're not providing services. I don't mind, like, for example, there are countries like in other places that like there's still a level of corruption,
Absolutely.
but at least deliver on the minimum standards. Yeah, take a little 5% here, there. I don't mind that, but at least provide the service. Also, to be a politician. A lot of I always say to people, the politicians that we've had have never been politicians that really love Haiti. Meaning, like, and I hate to say this because I just thought right now Jovenel gave his life, technically, because he did love the country. Mm-hmm. But it's also too, like, it was already too late because he was already associated with that party. So it's understanding, I think, change of mentality. I think the other thing too is getting people from the diaspora to actually come back and whether it is start a business and partner with an entity in Haiti, find a different way, because obviously you're not going to come and do it by yourself. Because like they always say, Haiti c'est pays glissé. Haiti is a country that is very slick, but if you have the right partnership, someone that knows business over in France, in New York, whatever it is, to partner with a family that wants to actually see the country change, then you start creating those partnerships. You start delivering services. You start changing the mentality in terms of like, we can't accept what has always been done to continue to happen. Those are the things that will change. And hopefully we end up getting a leader that is charismatic, that is strong, because you can't lead Haiti without being strong. No. You have to be strong. You have to be, and also too, you have to be able to make some tough decisions. And also too, like, we all know that, like, in terms of policy, we need to have someone that's strong enough that can still maintain partnerships with the powers that be, but also still be able to do a pushback. And that's a fine line of politics that I don't think that our politicians have yet.
Someone who's not afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
said.
That's dope.
That's dope, brother.
Yeah. Very nice.
I think it's time for the random question.
Yeah. So
I wish I went to Saint Louis.
Very nice.
Right, Anita?
For real.
Please.
Well, okay. So these are random
question.
Let's see.
Pick one.
Good luck.
Oh, man. This is gonna be some personal.
Yeah. No.
Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
If you could spend a day with someone, who would it be with and why? Oof. Who would it be with and why? God. Non-entertainment. I'm a very much kind of like, I like aspirational people. Barack Obama is someone for me that is incredible. And the reason why he's incredible is because of the simple fact that being the first is always the hardest. It's always like that. There's courage, and every single thing about him, he had to be perfect on every single level. Mm-hmm. He had to. I remember there was a one point there was a scandal, and the scandal was because Barack Obama wore, I think, was it like a beige suit?
Yes, I remember that.
It became a major scandal. All the people were just like, then you ended up having a president after him. There was scandal after scandal, but nobody had any issues. Right. So for me, it's just understanding like the sacrifice that goes into, because then there's pressure too. I was student government president, and then it's on like a minor scale. First ever African-American president of student government in St. John's history. And I remember the pressure because it was kind of like, hey, I'm the first Black one, so I have to know my stuff more. I have to like be able to do my parliamentary procedure much better. I have to actually oversee budget better. I have to actually, when I'm giving speeches, that it's actually on point. When I'm actually writing my newsletter every 2 weeks, it needs to be perfect because I'm the first. Because as the first, you're gonna be looked at, you're gonna be judged. It's the pressure. So for me, someone like him to be president of the United States in a time that was so divided, and being able to, like, yeah, he didn't accomplish everything that he wanted to accomplish, but he tried and his intentions were there. And also to, as someone that understands the pressures that he was dealing with, like that's incredible. And he was cool as hell, man. Like, come on. Like you had like a president that can sing, that had swag, that played ball, and also knew his policy. Come on.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
No, you're right.
That's
You're
what's
right.
up.
We play ball. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. Well,
Ooh.
Mr. President. With that being said, thank you for doing this.
Wow.
Nah, I appreciate it, man.
Scheduling was crazy, but
Hey,
you know,
this guy's traveling. He's
Hey,
we have the private jet.
I'm here though. I'm here.
The Secret Service is all lined up right here. Like, you know, we got.
Oh my God,
Man, why you gotta put my stuff on blast?
I just wish I went to St. Louis.
Nah, this is
Thanks, bro.
This is beautiful, man.
No, this is great.
And we definitely see great things happening for you, your brand, you
Yeah,
and your partner. We applaud you guys.
definitely.
The Creole Food Fest.
So I better see Team Sock Passe there.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, we're gonna do something.
Well, let's do something.
We're gonna
Let's do
talk
something.
behind the scenes.
We're gonna
we
definitely
need
definitely,
to get
definitely.
involved.
I know that, you know, I like a lot of times I only support Stacks and all that stuff, you know. I love my boy Stacks too, but I was just like, yo, I remember like, no, it's a funny story because I remember one time I was like, Glad, I need you to sponsor me for this. He's like, nah, bro, I can't do it. I'm already committed to Stacks. And I was just like, you could do Stacks and Fabrice.
Wow. I remember that conversation.
Well, look, we're gonna make it
Shout out
happen.
to Stacks.
Shout out to Stacks. We're gonna make it happen, bro.
Yeah, I'm
For
good.
sure.
No,
For sure.
we definitely got to make it happen. And I mean, this is something that we could like, especially within our culture with the restaurant. And I think it's people like yourself, you know, and whatever needs to happen. This is your platform. Just
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
I'm all there
like,
too.
We're here to promote it. We're here to do whatever it needs, and that's like this guy knows how passionate I am about the restaurant industry, bro.
Yeah.
Because
No, we
that's
need
something
the help.
you know,
Yeah.
coming
We need it.
from that background is kind of like, nah, we got to do better.
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
do better. And shout out to all the Haitian restaurant
Yes,
owners,
so
though.
all of the Haitian
No,
restaurants.
we love y'all. We love
Yeah.
we
That
definitely
are doing
love
the
them, man.
work.
We love them.
All
It's
of them
hard.
that have
It's
not
tough.
done the work,
Yeah.
that needs to do the work.
It's tough.
The
we
food is
got
great.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
no,
is.
The food is
It's tough.
great. You know, we do our best to, support for sure. But let's just keep taking it to another level. You know what I'm saying?
True, true.
For sure.
We need that.
Yes. Incredible.
Any last words before you get out of here?
Nah, man. Like, I just want to say, like, keep on doing your work, man. You guys have been at this for a while,
Definitely.
and you guys keep reinventing yourself, which is good. A lot of people stay complacent about where they are and so forth. So, like, when I saw the podcast, I was like, yo, dope concept.
Thank you.
Because, we need to actually have more ways of telling our stories, telling our narratives, and showcasing a different aspect of us, because that's helping the culture as well.
True.
Because they're learning about Haitians and different people in different segments and different avenues. So that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So keep it up. I know it's not easy because then it's like, oh, y'all got your jobs and then I have to do this. And then by the time y'all get to bed, it's like, oh, I have to do it all over again.
Not easy.
It's not easy, brother.
Not easy.
But that's
not
why it's a
easy.
passion, right?
It's fun.
It doesn't feel like work.
Having fun.
Yeah.
Having
No, we
fun.
definitely need to do something together, and maybe we get the exclusive.
No, maybe we could
Team
do.
Sock by Say
No,
podcast on Creole Food Fest. Or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Interview chefs.
Yeah.
That might be something to work
Yeah.
out.
Special
Interview
edition.
chefs.
Yeah.
Have
you
them
know.
come in.
Yeah, or
Light
we
work.
might do Sensation d'été together. We haven't done that in a while.
You haven't?
Nice.
Yeah, that was another one.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Okay.
There's a
lot we
lot.
could
There's
do.
a lot we could do.
Yeah.
Think Roots of Haiti. Think
Ooh,
Roots of Haiti.
yeah.
Yeah, Roots of Haiti. Get that.
Think Roots of
involved.
Haiti. And I'm gonna leave it right
Okay,
there.
all right.
I'm
all
gonna
right.
Drop the mic. We
Drop the mic.
Boom.
All right.
It was a boom.
Yeah, I see
Right
that.
there.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nah. This is bro. Like this has been
We gonna work.
this. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do, man. And I'm definitely like him and I. We always talk about like linking up.
Yeah,
And
let's do it.
it's time. It's
Yeah,
time.
hey, I
time.
said that I literally saw a friend of mine the other day, and he's always been like into the house world, but his best friends with Sakia Sandifer. Sakia Sandifer is the gentleman that wrote Kanye's book. Okay,
Mhm.
so and he took Kanye and Sakia to Haiti, so he was always like, Fab, like the issue's not the money, bro. The issue's not the money. The issue,
really
and
not.
I love hearing that because I'm like, really? where have you been in my conversations with trying to get corporate sponsors? He says the issue's not money. You just need to actually be in the room with the right person to pitch it,
Mhm.
and then from then on, it's what it is. So that's why for me, I'm open to it. It's kind of like, hey, you speak it, you put it out there, and then you allow the universe. It could be the universe for you, it could be God for someone, it could be Allah for someone else.
Right.
You allow that entity of the world to actually open up to what your desire is.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's what it is.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Wow. Rob, housekeeping items.
Housekeeping items. Team Sock by Say podcast, on YouTube, audio, wherever you find the podcast. As you can tell,
So we always laughing because Rob never gets it right.
I think that's the beauty of it, right? Because my daughter,
he switches it up every single time.
my daughter tells me the same thing. She's like, "Dad, like you," she critiques my, my interview skills, but it's all good though. But yeah, Team Sock by Say on IG, Team Sock by Say Facebook. And remember, subscribe, share, comment below. You see the name. You're going to see Fabrice's information down below. Thank you, Fabrice, Creole Food Fest. Everyone, thank y'all so much. We appreciate you guys. And that's it.
Till next time, Team Sock by Say, we out.